Hey everyone, so today I'm going to talk about something very deep, and I want it to go right to those who are awake and ready to hear this or already know this and just want more clarity. I'm going to give that to you today to understand the digital reality phenomenon, the black hole system agenda, the alien agenda. Then I want to let you know about the Ascension cycle, understanding the higher frequencies that are coming here to this planet through our sun and from the center of our planet out. This is why the Schumann frequencies are going off the charts. This is why we're starting to see disruptive weather patterns. This is, some of it's organized, some of it is definitely being done purposely, but there's a lot taking place because of the higher frequencies that are moving to and through our planet and also you. So I want to talk to you about the agenda, why you are being altered without your consent, why they want you to be a cyborg, why they want you to be no longer human. And they're trying to convince you through savvy marketing that this is your next evolution, is to become connected to or interfaced with a computer, an AI, technology. This couldn't be farther from the truth. For those who are awake, this is an insult. We are divine beings, and when you start to wake up, this is insulting. You honestly think that we don't believe that we are better than AI? That's the attitude I hope every single one of you have who are watching me. Now, there is a tremendous, it's undeniable, there is a tremendous push on AI right now, right? AI is everywhere. And I know all of you who are watching me understand how brainwashing works. Psychological warfare at a military level has been unleashed on all of us for a long time, thousands of years. Now, you need to understand, why is this push happening so aggressively? Why are they really making you, between now and 2030, become digitized, no longer organic? They're taking you into a reality, a timeline that they want you to think is real. This is why they've been collecting data from you, all your Facebook, all your Instagram, all your things with your family. Why are they wanting to know how you think, how you feel, the words you used? Because they are trying to create a reality that seems like how humans would act, because these are non-human entities. These are Antichrist entities. You've heard them reptilians, the little grays, archons. There are as many different hybrids that are not from this planet, not from here, not a human. They are an Antichrist being that operate outside of this realm, and they are dying. They are dying. And this is why you are going to be digitized to keep them alive as long as possible in a black hole system. So I've talked about this in my past reels, and you have to start to open your mind and realize there's something way bigger going on here. It has nothing to do with just the fact of control. I mean, they've had control over us and forever, but we thought we were free. But this is doubled, tripled, because they need to have you connected to Satan, to Lucifer's great machine. And that is the Internet of Things, because you become, without being unplugged, the food to sustain it. So we all know there are higher frequencies coming into this planet. They're trying to prevent them. We know they're trying to block our sun. They're trying to use climate change, because that is part of the Ascension cycle, is disrupting our weather patterns because of the higher frequencies coming here. See, the Mayas and everyone else in our ancient past had these memories still. They understood the time cycles. So they knew when these times were coming, they prepared for them. They weren't afraid of them because they understood it was part of the timeline. It was how this matrix operates. But all of us have been dumbed down and ignorant. The books, the knowledge, the people, anyone who had this information to allow us to be aware of what happens during an ascension cycle has been removed. So we would be terrified. We would be ignorant. We would not know what's going on. And then we would buy into all their lies. This climate agenda, this climate carbon bullshit, I mean, this is an absolute lie. It's an absolute lie. To use climate lockdowns, we have to lock you up because of the weather. It's so far-fetched and it's so unbelievable, but people are buying into it, because when you live in fear every single day, you don't think. You are controllable, and not only that, you're predictable. And they wanted a very predictable humanity so that you can be controlled without even giving any type of resistance. They don't want you to resist. They want you to comply. So when they keep you in fear, when they tell you lies and you buy into them, you have to understand that you're in the high beta state. When you're in a high beta state, you don't think, you react. And that's what we have. That's why you're predictable. Now, first, let's go and ask, why would you want to prevent the higher frequencies from coming here? Why would you want to block our sun? Why would you want to create a dense and heavy environment which keeps humanity in a very low frequency when higher frequencies are coming into the planet? Well, if you understand the bigger picture, You can take a look at Tom Cruise's movie, War of the Worlds. In the very beginning, when these creatures came out of the ground, they were in these ships. And what they did was they used a laser, right? A ray that disintegrated human beings instantaneously, right? All that was higher frequency. That is 5D and higher scalar wave technology that most people don't understand. They did use it in Hawaii, right? So this is what you have to understand. Higher frequencies, if the body cannot hold the higher frequencies by expanded consciousness and more DNA plugged in, the body will evaporate. It will disintegrate. So this is why the transhumanism movement is being totally inundated all over the world, because they want to create a body that's not human, that when the higher frequencies come here, your body doesn't disintegrate because it's no longer organic. You're now made of silicon. You are now a cyborg. You're part human, part synthetic, right? So that allows you to be able to resist. That allows you to be able to hold these higher frequencies without disintegrating and dying. So this is 5D frequency. This is scalar technology. This is what they used in Hawaii. So you need to understand that anything that's higher than what the thing is, whether it's a human, whether it's a rock, whether it's anything, whatever the vibrational frequency is, if it's lower than something higher, it can dissolve it, implode it, explode it. It can disintegrate it, because higher frequencies always override lower. So when our DNA has been unplugged, right? It has been unplugged to 3 to 4 strands of DNA activation. This is low frequency. We have been inundated with fear during this timeline and our experience here in the third dimension, which means we hold ourselves down in like a frequency fence, a static energy field that is always in low frequency. It never rises because we're constantly inundated with fear, worry, scarcity, lack. And so because of that, we are constantly in that state of being and we never evolve. And so when these higher frequencies come here, they can cause a lot of issues within our body, because during this ascension cycle, we were supposed to be ready for it. We were supposed to already have understood consciousness, already expanding our consciousness, understand the weather and what takes place during an ascension cycle. So we knew all about it. There was no fear running through our body. We understood it and we were excited about it, because an ascension cycle means you get to go home to Terra. And that's what we've been wanting to do. That's that feeling in your gut of never feeling like this is home, because this isn't and wasn't your home. Now let's flip over to what I shared about the Phantom Matrix. These Antichrist beings, they have no connection to source. So just like plugging a plug into a wall so that your light will turn on, they are not plugged into source, so no light goes on. They have no light, okay? They are Antichrist beings, meaning that they do not operate in alignment with God, source, nature. They operate in the opposite of it. So that's why there's evil. That's why there's warring. That's why there's sacrifices. Anything that goes opposite of God or divine is what we have experienced since we fell into this third dimension 350 million years ago. So you need to understand that they live and thrive off of these frequencies, because that's all that can sustain them. When you're not able to rise in frequency, which they can't, they are phase locked. They are phase locked in the frequency that you and I have lived here on this timeline, and that's familiar to us. Their energy field is low in density. They thrive in warring, fighting, sacrifice, fear. That's how they survive. If you are coming from love, if you're coming from a higher state of consciousness, it's almost like a steak. It cannot handle it. It needs it brought down so you can be used as food. This is why children are targets. They're the highest frequency on the planet when they first get here, and they want to make sure that they pull that right down and then use them as they grow up. Now, most of you know that just because you can't see them doesn't mean they're not here. Multidimensional beings can hide out in the lower astral field. They can hide out in other dimensions. They can be there without us seeing them because they are very intelligent. This is the thing. Their DNA hasn't been shut off like ours. They have 11.5 strands of DNA and lower. So when you think of 11.5 strands, that's 11 dimensions of information, of knowledge, of memories that they have access to right now. You and I have been dumbed down and unplugged to the third or fourth dimension, depending on who I'm speaking to, which means our level of intelligence, our ability to remember is so limited because we're only looking between 3 dimensions when there is 12 dimensions of history. There's 12 dimensions of memories that we cannot access, or not all of us can access, but they can. So when you want to know why they have all this intelligence and why this alien technology, which is AI, that's been brought to us, how is CERN built? They gave us the information to build it. HARP, DARPA, all of it. So you need to understand, this is not our technology. This is their technology getting humans to build it for them for this particular time period. So if they have no access to source, then that means everything that they need to create it. They need to make it artificial, right? They have to create something, which means it's artificial. It's not real. It's fake. It's a copy, right? So they have to create a metaverse that mimics our universe so that they can convince us to walk into that through digital ID, digital reality, and the metaverse. You can live here. You can be anyone you want. You can heal yourself. But it's all in the mind, because the mind is all there is. And that's what I've always been telling you guys. If you control your mind, you control your life, your reality, and where your consciousness expands to. But they have controlled us for so long by removing information that they are keeping us phase locked into a very low frequency so that we match their artificial timeline. See, if we raise our consciousness, we don't match their timeline, which means we're not going to go into that timeline, that phantom system. During the split, I've talked about it. There are multiple options, but the one option that they want most of us to go down is the pathway of the fall. Okay, this is their phantom matrix. And they're doing this by tricking you all into believing that this is your real world, because they've collected data from all of you. They have studied us for so long that they're creating a false digital world that most humans won't even know the difference. And right now you're starting to see it. Things are blending and you don't know what's real anymore online and what's not. And that's part of this lockstep into the digital reality, which is going to be full time for most humans if you don't wake up. Now, one thing that most people have trouble understanding because they live from the outside in and because of the programming, everyone believes that what you see and what you hear outside is the truth, which it isn't. It's all lies. So when you understand that there's no limit in supply, that God will always supply his children, you need to understand that we're plugged into source. So that means we have access to everything that we ever would need on demand because we are plugged in to God. These Antichrist beings are not. That's why they need us. That's why they've been vampiring our energy. This is why they're so desperate to push the AI and get you into this false digital reality so that you can't get out of it, because they need you to survive, because everything is energy and we are powerful, right? You have to understand how powerful the energy is locked up in all of your atoms, and you got trillions of them. So you are powerful. Your DNA, powerful. Why do you think they're trying to get it and alter it? So you have to understand you are the key. You are the powerful one. You should not be manipulated by these fallen Antichrist races any longer. It's backwards. They are the ones that need us. We don't need them. So when we wake up and realize that they're the ones in fear, they're the ones living in scarcity, they're the ones that have no supply. They have no supply. So when their supply runs out, it's the end game for them. This is what I want you to understand. And they've put that into our timeline. These are called alien implants. And we think it's our truth, and it's not. So when during this ascension cycle, the higher frequencies that are coming here, if we were awake and we had the information and the knowledge like we were always meant to, then we would know that we had to prepare ourselves for these higher frequencies. And preparing ourselves means our minds, our way we think, what we feel, how we perceive the world. Are we united or are we still divided? We would never, ever, if all our strands were plugged in, or even up to 5 strands of DNA was plugged in, there's no way any of us would be fighting each other. It is not normal for a race to fight itself. It's not. And we have been inundated with familiarizing ourselves that war is natural, that we have to fight against people who don't look like us, who don't talk like us, who don't think like us. This is not true. This has been given to us through information, and we just accepted it as true. So we need to understand that we have been shaped, and we are continually being shaped through social media. That is the biggest psychological weapon right now, is social media. You need to be in awareness of what you're watching and how long you're watching it. Because the dopamine hits that are happening right now, nobody can stop scrolling. You're addicted. You need to understand your consciousness and who you are is being shaped even more now than ever through social media, so that you become what they need you to become, to walk right into their digital reality, the metaverse that they keep saying to you is the best thing for you. You're going to love it. And it's always for the greater good of humanity. So the higher frequencies that are coming here are here to activate your DNA. This is a godsend. This is what happens. This is like this is Christ consciousness, right? The higher frequencies is Christ consciousness. This is what people think is a man coming here out of the sky that's going to save humanity. What's going to save humanity is if humanity understands that consciousness is the key. That when you raise your consciousness closer and closer to what Christ had, then you will be able to hold these higher frequencies when they come here. When this ascension cycle gets to that pivotal point, right? Where that split and that 3-day process is going to happen. People call it a flare, whatever you want to call it. When this point happens, we need to be ready for it. And our bodies are the key to it. Our consciousness actually is the key to it. If we're still living in worrying and fear and scarcity, we are not a match for these higher frequencies. And that was done on purpose. But each and every one of you can shift that immediately by starting to change who you are. And really what you're doing is you're taking off masks of things that you were told you were, that you were not. And every time you take a mask off, every layer that you remove, you start to feel more like yourself. You start to become more and more authentic and real. And that is the true you. And your frequency will naturally rise because that's just the essence of yourself. That's your divine spark. Now let's flip over to what we see happening in the skies. Let's flip over to all of these things that we got told that saves humanity. Let's get to the point of what they're injecting everything in. Like our whole entire planet in this timeline is being inundated to alter it. It's altering it because the planet itself is alive as well. It's organic. Earth breathes. Earth has an in and outflow just like we do. They're trying to alter everything on the planet because they're lowering the planet and everything on it. So that will come into the timeline, to their shadow matrix, into the black hole system. Because the planet, the animals, the humans, everything is energy. So the more that they can pull into their black hole system when this takes place, the longer they believe they have to survive. This is what the big picture is. This is why they're digitizing our world. Because when you inundate it with what you're doing right now and what they're doing, it lowers the frequency and consciousness of everything here. So the lower it is, the easier it'll just flow into that split timeline when that time comes. Why do they want all of these things in your body? Why do they want to alter your DNA? Like, to me, that is the most invasive. And people are still like, I was at a pharmacy yesterday picking something up, and I almost cried when this gentleman came up beside me and said to the pharmacist, "I'm here for my COVID shot and my flu shot." I almost cried. I didn't say anything because it's not my place to say anything, but I just felt my stomach just dropped because there are so many innocent humans that have no idea of what they're doing in their bodies and what they're putting in there because of the ignorance and the manipulation. But to alter our own DNA, the DNA code that we were given by God, that is an Antichrist move if you can't figure that out. To honestly invade our own DNA blueprint, that alters who you are as a being. It alters the expression of the biology, and that's what they're trying to do. They want to alter our biology so that it will match the shadow matrix that they're going into. It needs to be synthetic to match the lower frequency. And that's what synthetic is. It's low frequency. It's low in consciousness. It locks you in there. So this is why they need to alter your DNA, because they're changing the expression of who you are. This is why they're trying to set up a second neural network in your body. This has been proven. This has been identified with real scientists, not the mainstream ones. Why do they want to copy a neural network within the human body? Because they want the frequencies, the 5G towers, the CERNs, to be able to communicate with their artificial neural network that they're trying to get to operate in our body and override our God's neural network, our organic neural network. That is what they're doing. I'm telling you, this is overwhelming for some people, but for me, I have no fear because I understand that who we are as divine beings. You ask yourself this question: if you believe in God or something that created our planet, the universe, do you honestly think that anything can overtake God? No. And we are all fractals and units of consciousness of God. We are made in the image and likeness of the one and only, which means if we tap into that, we are bulletproof. You need to understand that. But most of us have been told God is somewhere out there and that we're not good people, so God ignores us, we're bad. So why don't we obey these false gods? Because this is what was their main point from the beginning. When they decided to fall and create their own universe and be like their own gods, this is what they want. And AI If you look up to AI, if you are given AI your energy, this is what they wanted. You are giving yourself to false gods. So like I've shared in many of my reels, your cyborg identity that awaits you, your quantum adjuster, your digital reality of the metaverse that they're selling like it's going to be so amazing for you humans. You need to wake up. You are way better than this. You're much smarter than this. You need to understand that this isn't about you literally and physically moving around and enjoying yourself in a reality. Your body is not going to be doing much. It's your mind. It's plugged into a timeline. It's a simulation. So that's why you can change your avatar. That's why you can be anyone you want. That's why if you are paralyzed or if you can't see, you'll be able to see in the simulation because you're not real. You're not real, but it's going to look real because they've taken all your data. This is why data right now is the highest currency. Data is all they say. They want all the data so that they can blend realities to the point where you believe you're literally in the true prime reality when in fact you're not even close. You're falling in a black hole system. So what I wanted to get across today is understanding the digital ID, understanding the metaverse, understanding why they're digitizing and trying to terraform everything, including you. Why, without your permission, you are having things in your own body that are supposed to react to an external frequency when emitted to be able to do what it's commanded to do. It's like a ticking time bomb. That is unbelievably desperate, invasive, obviously. But what I want you guys to understand is this. When you're in that desperate state, I told you, these Antichrist beings, these archons, the reptilians, they live in fear every day. That's why we live in it, because they wanted us to be made in their image and their likeness. And we have done that because we didn't know any better. But you need to understand, when you connect back to God, the one God, the divine, in the Bible, I think someone told me the other day over 300 times, it says, please don't fear, don't fear, don't fear. And what the hell are you fearing for then? If you read the Bible and you're so into that, what are you fearing? There's nothing to fear. So start to align yourself back with the divine and unplug yourself from Satan. Because we have, for a very long time, for millions of years, been connected to a Luciferian covenant, an agreement that took place for this timeline, for this agenda. And it has nothing to do with the greater good of you. So don't buy into any of their sustainable goals. They're all bullshit. I absolutely love humanity. I love animals. I love God. And I want people to understand the truth, to see what is really going on, because you're going to get more over the next year and two. It's going to be so blended. It's going to be so hard to understand, and you won't be able to discern the difference. But you know what will? Your heart. You know what will? Raising your consciousness, your frequency. Losing the identity that you have been familiar with all your life is what you need to do, because it's not who you really are. Choosing to be more than who you are now is how you escape this outcome. Choosing to be more like God, more like Christ, more loving, unity. Choosing to be one with our race instead of us fighting each other, which was the plan, which is feeding a race that is not human. This is crazy. We need to unite. So my suggestion for all of you, you go within. When you start raising your frequency, your consciousness, your intuition skyrockets, right? Your superhuman abilities start to show up. You are superhuman when your DNA starts to plug back in. This is why back in Atlantis, when there's flying spaceships and there's these higher dimensional beings coming in, when you're dumbed down, you're going to look at them as gods, but you don't understand that you have 12 strands ready to be awakened. They only can access 11.5. So we're already ahead of the game. We are the divine ones. But they have convinced you that you're hackable animals, that you're gum on a shoe. Nothing. And you need saved because you're out here all alone. That is the biggest lie, to get a race that is powerful, to buy into it. Memories are going to come back when you activate your DNA. And when you really understand who you are, you'll never, ever entertain fear again.